On this week's episode of The Flop Factor, Cody and RJ will go through the NBA Draft Lottery plus more. A lot of great playoff series is going on this mobile edition of the Flop Factor podcast, which begins right now. Hello, it's myself, Cody Byrne, your host, alongside my co-host, RJ Rice. I mean, we've done this a couple times now, RJ, just us two, but I'm still in Morgantown. You're in Akron, so
that's right.
A little bit. We're using the different ways of recording right now, so that's always fun. But a lot of stuff happened. NBA Draft Lottery happened, and some big-time winners, big-time losers. The Memphis Grizzlies are in the top 5 now, or top 3 now. They got the 3rd overall pick. The Wizards stayed put at number 1. They were the first team to do so, to stay put at number 1 since this new flattened odds sort of deal, which is already going to be changing, even became a thing. And then the Jazz got number 2. The Bulls are in there at number 4 after being a play-in contender for parts of the season. They were able to jump up a little bit after kind of falling and going back down to earth after the trade deadline. It landed in there at number 4. And I think the story, just stopping at the top 5 before we get to the rest, the story was the Clippers getting pick 5, kind of their future being saved in a way. Having the Indiana Pacers pick fall out of the top 4. It was top 4 protected from the Victor Zubac trade. They get number 5, and now they can select any of those 3, 4 maybe guards that could all go in that range that are all very talented.
Yeah, I think for this draft lottery, if you want to talk about winners and losers, even just a big winner, in my opinion, that isn't the obvious of the Clippers getting their pick and holding at 5, would be Chicago at number 4. If you think about it, if you're in that top 3 to 4 range, you're getting a great player regardless of how the draft board falls. And I think if you're an executive for one of these top 4 teams being Washington, Utah, Memphis, and Chicago, you got to be excited because you can do work on probably this top 4 of AJ, Darren, Cameron, and Caleb Wilson. And no, you're probably going to get one of those 4 players. So I think Chicago, for me, jumping 5 spots, a big winner in my opinion. But another loser that probably won't be talked about as much, probably I have 2, be the Brooklyn Nets and Sacramento Kings. The Kings were just, flat out terrible. Just a lot of stuff going on, getting blown out almost every night. You get picked 7. You can still get somebody good, don't get me wrong, but it's not to the talent of what's in this top 4. And for Brooklyn, you want to have that top 3 odds. You want to be up there, but you get a pick 6. Probably not the greatest scenario for Brooklyn, but that's why they'd be under a loser in my category.
Yeah, the Nets and the Kings, both of them falling, is very disappointing for both of those teams. The Nets have fallen for a couple of years in a row now, it's felt like. Really, now that I think about it, the only times the Nets haven't fallen in the draft lottery were when they didn't have their own pick, whenever they gave the Boston Celtics Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But there's some, I'd say those 3 are definitely the biggest losers. The 3 top 5 odds guys that are top 4, top 5 odds that just fell out of the top 4/top 5. And I gotta say, the draft lottery, whoever controls it, whether it's Luck, Adam Silver, whoever was really wanting to troll Pacer fans, waiting until the last possible pick to go to actually name that they're not going to be in the top 4. That's very disappointing for them. And I know Connor Roberts, someone who hops on the podcast a lot, the local Pacers fan, was very unhappy about that and has some choice opinions on whether the logistics of the draft lottery, if the Clippers end up trading this pick 5 for Giannis Antetokounmpo, as some people around the NBA world have began to speculate. But outside of the top 5, top 10 even, but number 8, the Atlanta Hawks are right there in that top 10 since the Pelicans traded away their 8th overall pick and rights to the 10th overall pick. Yeah, the 10th overall pick as well, and that kind of like 3-team like thing where the Bucks and Hawks, the Hawks would have the better of the two between the Pelicans and Bucks pick, and the Pelicans would just like be out of there and screwed. But you have Adai Mara, who is currently mocked, and a lot of teams going to the Hawks, which would be an incredible pickup. The Bucks getting in there at number 10 as well, but unfortunate for the Pelicans to be fallen out of that. Just looking through the lottery, there's a really big winner, in my opinion, in the Hawks. Just sitting there, being a playoff team this year. Now they have pick 8. It's similar to that how the Thunder have a lottery pick, even though they're a contender. The Hawks, not even though they're not a finals contender just yet, this is a type of pick, especially if they select a guy like a Diamara or potentially even like a Quentin Wagler or a one of those guards that they could pick up. Could really be a big-time pickup there. But moving forward, out of those top 5 picks, it's a really big thing, like pretty big discussion of who goes who, like who goes where, what goes what, because really 1 through 4 is a complete just mix up, and then 5 through like 7, 8, 9 is a big mix up as well right now. But currently, most mock drafts have the Bouncy going 1, Peterson going 2, Wilson Boozer is kind of a mix up between who's going 3 and 4 there. But reports came out yesterday that AJ Debonsa really wants to go number 2, not number 1. He wants to stay in Utah, which makes sense because, I mean, the Utah Jazz's GM has pretty much set this in stone from day one. He helped move Dybantsa out to Utah in high school and set him up in the AAU summit there. He went to BYU for college as well, staying in Utah, so just might as well stay there is what the set in stone is. But really, you can't really go wrong any of these top 4 guys going to 1. In my opinion, Boozer is really being overthought at number 1. Darren Peterson's an absolute incredible talent as well. Caleb Wilson, UNC is people call him Kevin Garnett light, but very interesting big 4. But for the Washington Wizards at number 1, RJ, who do you think fits the best in that team?
I mean, you can't be wrong with any of these guys. I think it really depends on what aspect you're looking at. I think Washington, if they stay at 1, because I know there's been some rumblings about them potentially trading down from 1. I don't think it'd be any lower than 3 if they were to do that. If you're number 1, I honestly think you take the risk of Darren Peterson. I know there's a lot of thing about his ability with his stamina, being on the court constantly. That's a big problem that he faced at Kansas last season. I think if you're Washington, though, you have to trust his ability, averaging 25, 5, and 2 last season. I think he has really great potential in this Washington offense. You can pair him alongside Trae Young, see how that'll go with Washington. You got Alex Sarr there as well. I think you could have a potential great starting 5 for Washington and finally start to get on the winning way again. Probably the first time since John Wall, Bradley Beal, who John Wall actually represented him at the draft lottery. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. My opinion, you have to go. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with any of the guys. But considering that Cam Boozer's a power forward center, and they already are pretty strong at that level with Kaishan George and Alex Sarr, Darren Peterson is the guy I would personally go with. Pairing him alongside Trae Young for the now and Trey Johnson for the future, and that guard room could be really big. You could run Trey Johnson as kind of like a smaller like guard forward, like at that 3 position. If you really want to run the 3 guard lineup, which has worked in the past for plenty of teams. And Peterson is a guy that can play point guard, can play shooting guard, can play a wing style player as well. Incredible shooter, very, very strong athlete. He's saying the cramping stuff has started to be figured out. They found the reason why, the overuse of creatine, which really makes a lot of sense considering the amount of stress that these colleges want to put on these kids' bodies at such a young age. It makes a lot of sense, but yeah, Darren Peterson, number 1, would really make sense. And I guess number 2 is kind of obvious. AJ Dybantsa, Utah, fits perfectly there. They already got a good guard room. They already got good forwards. They really just need that star small forward, and that team's really complete. And I know he's not here, but Brayden Laszlo had the Jazz as a 10 seed this year. Maybe he was never wrong just early.
Always
And
just early for Brady.
next year, if they can pick up, really any of these guys, I feel like the Jazz will be a play-in, playoff contender next year, as long as everything goes right with Jaren Jackson Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Dybanster, Peterson, or Boozer, whoever to go there, and then George as well as their point guard with some great guys off that bench.
It's the health of that starting lineup for Utah. I think that's the big question. My pick personally, if Darren were to go one, AJ's two, it's no question for the Utah Jazz front office. You have BYU alums too. They've seen him up close and personal. They know what ability he's going to bring to the court. And for Utah, you already have a pretty decent starting lineup right now. I mean, you got Keontae George, who's shown a lot of potential this season. You got Markin and Jaren Jackson, even Walker Kessler at the center position. If you mix DeBonsta in there as well, you could probably see this Utah Jazz even say their floor could be a potential play-in spot. So just even looking at it that way, drafting AJ in this position for Utah, I think it'd be a steal of a draft for him.
Yeah, definitely. And this is just a Jazz core that's really starting to get fun to watch. Just need to get to winning and see what the team looks like whenever they're actually pushing for a play and pushing for wins instead of kind of just bottoming out at the end of every single season. Now, number 3 is the one where a lot of discussion has been had because me personally, Cam Boozer is number 1 on my big board. I think he's the best prospect in the draft class. I think it's been an overthought of how good, the combine concerns has been really weird because he's been the most well-performed guy at the combine out of the top 4 picks outside of vertical jump. But it's just... I think it's been an overthought because people see him as just like this inside interior force big for some reason, like his dad, even though he's a 3-level scorer that shot nearly 40% from 3, 55% from mid-range, only scored 4 points per game in the paint last year and scored 18 everywhere else. So I don't really understand where that's coming from, but I think you have to go with Cam Boozer here if he's available at number 3 if you're the Grizzlies. Caleb Wilson's a great player. Don't get me wrong. It would be a solid pick no matter what if they get him. But I feel like if you go Cam Boozer, he's a dude that's being really overthought. Reminds me a lot of kind of like that Al Horford, Kevin Love, maybe a little bit of Chris Webber in there as well. Like a guy that's going to be a perennial all-star, going to be a Hall of Fame potential player, couple All-NBA appearances as well, going to be one of the better power forwards, best power forwards in the NBA for years to come. And I think filling him in this Grizzlies rotation and core that's really trying to find that spark again after trading a lot of their guys. Jaw's still there. It could really they have a lot of guards. They don't really have that strong of a front core outside of Edey, who's consistently injured. But it's just would be really big for them if they can just land a star power forward center guy like Boozer. I mean, Wilson's also a star power forward, but I just feel like Boozer's been overthought and is the best player in this draft class.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cody. I think selecting Cameron Boozer there for the Grizzlies, if the board were to fall this way, would be an excellent selection for him. Now, you mentioned it with Ja Morant. We don't know if he's going to be on the team yet or not. I think really, if Ja's not on the team, you can kind of have a different conversation. If the board were to fall differently, if you really feel that, let's say Boozer's already taken, it's AJ, and you don't trust Darren's recovery as well, you can maybe see a potential shock pick there. But I think taking Boozer here and putting him at the 4 would be excellent. I mean, you'd pair him next to Zach Edey. Cedric Coward, though, showed a lot of potential there at the 2 guard, I think, for Memphis. If you were to pair him with a good power forward, so that Boozer-Coward connection would be really good to watch, in my opinion. But it really depends on how Memphis thinks. But I think if you were to go with, as Cody, you mentioned, your best prospect on the board at pick 3, you can't really go wrong. You can't say it's a bad pick because it's a great selection at the right time in a position you arguably need.
Yeah, and as we're in the topic of the Grizzlies, I just want to say rest in peace and all condolences to the family of Brandon Clark and Brandon Clark himself. All the people that are around the Grizzlies, covered the Grizzlies, all talked about how good of a person he truly was, how much he cared for the city of Memphis, and just with the amount of injuries that piled up for him through the years, the mental health struggles picked up, and that just calls to the cause of death, which hasn't yet been determined, but people at TMZ and people at Other news outlets have been saying that the authorities have been trying to see if it was a drug overdose, but all of that stuff is just very upsetting. Only 29 years old, way too young to go for him. But just rest in peace, Brandon Clark, and a very upsetting situation there.
Too young, too young of a loss for life. He was an incredible player. I mean, even as a great leader and someone outside the community, you just mourn the losses. Really feel for the Clark family right now, and they're in our thoughts.
Yeah. Moving forward, we got the Chicago Bulls at pick 4. In my opinion, really, a lot of people are saying both of these teams need a power forward. Both of these teams will be landing a superstar potential at that, no matter who falls to them at pick 4 or 3. But Caleb Wilson going 4 for the Bulls would be a great pick. And if Caleb Wilson goes 3, home run pick, it would be Cam Boozer, in my opinion. But Caleb Wilson has been drawing comparisons from Kevin Garnett since the second he stepped on the floor at UNC, which is very high comparisons for such a young player, but the talent's there. He's an incredible mid-range shooter at 6'10", has a jump shot that could be improved from 3 in the modern era where the classic Kevin Garnett foot in the line mid-range shot may not be as efficient anymore. But he's a very, very strong power forward, great athlete. Missed the end part of his season at UNC last year due to injury, but that's not really anything to be worried about for him. It was a freak accident. But for the Bulls, they could really use that front court help. They have the guard rotation down, it seems, right now with Josh Giddey. We'll see how far that goes right now, but they got good wings. They've drafted a wing the past couple of years now. They can get that strong forward in there. They could really be locked in.
Yeah, I think for Chicago, it's more of who does Memphis not take and slides down to you at 4. You could probably switch Boozer and Wilson out depending on how Memphis feels about both the prospects. In our situation, it's Caleb Wilson at 4. That'd be my selection as well, Cody. I really feel for Chicago. If you were to put him, I would honestly probably put him at the 4 as well. You got Okoro there at the 3. He's more of a defensive guy, not necessarily known to be that scorer. You can put a scorer at the 4 position. You got Giddey there so far. You'd have Trey Jones, Okoro, as I mentioned, Jalen Smith, the center position, and then you'd add Caleb Wilson. I think for the Chicago Bulls, I mean, look, they're switching out their front office a lot. Now, the thinking could change potentially to how it's been through the past couple of years of always taking someone like a wing position or usually at the 3. But for Caleb Wilson, you probably play him at the 4 here in this scenario. And I think for Chicago, if you get that elevated scoring, you can finally get them back on the right direction, which they've been looking for years.
Yeah, and then once you get to pick 5 with the Clippers is where it really gets interesting because you could go Darius Cuff, you could go Michael Brown, you could go Keaton Wagler. There's a lot of guards here. Kingston Flemings. There's a lot of guards you go with. There's a clear best in my opinion, but I'd like to see what you think, RJ, because maybe best available isn't the option here.
It really depends on what you're looking for. And if you're going for, at least in my opinion, true scoring and potential, you take Darius Acuff here. I don't even think it's a question if you're the Clippers. You'd select him at pick 5. I mean, John Calipari, you've talked about how he's talked about certain guards that have gone on to the NBA and have done something. Cody, I know you know especially one of them, SGA, and how he's been. Really, I think if you take Acuff here, I mean, he's averaged 24, 3, and 6, or you could almost say 7 if you wanted to round up. But I think really for Darius Acuff, if you're going to the Clippers, you're going to a younger team, but they also have a lot of potential. This got Darius Garland in that trade, the deadline with the Cavaliers. I really think if you're going towards that youth, especially at the guard position, maybe put him at the 2. You can switch maybe Garland up. I don't know how exactly they'd run that. That'd be more of a training camp thing to figure out. But just based off pure scoring, which is something the Clippers are going to need, there could be also some other things with Kawhi. We don't know that yet. We don't know if that'll be investigated further or not. But in the assumption that it could be, getting a scorer like Darius Acuff, I think you can't go wrong.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think Darius Acuff is the higher rated prospect than the guy I would assume. I personally think the Clippers would be going here. I would have them picking Keaton Wagler of Illinois. just like because I know that they've really viewed Darius Garland as that point guard of the future, and I feel that a backcourt of Acuff and Garland is just like a duplication of what Cleveland had with Mitchell and Garland, which is good, really good, but has a little bit of a ceiling just because it's two guards that aren't really super strong defenders, but. Acuff is a really good prospect, but I feel like the Nets would be very happy if if he ends up falling past 5. But I feel like Keaton Wagler, who's my 6th best player on the board, would be going number 5. He's very long, like very tall guards, 6'6", not the best wingspan in the world for someone that's 6'6". I think he has the same exact wingspan as height, Desmond Bain style, but. He proved at Illinois that he's a capable, strong defender that's gotten better throughout his year. Illinois did a great job developing him into a stronger defender, and he's a great driver to the rim, brings a lot of rim pressure that this Clippers team really could use if they decide to stay here and keep this pick instead of doing the whole Giannis Antetokounmpo stuff like some people are reporting. But it's very interesting to see where they would go there. And I feel like Darius Acuff would be a solid pick no matter what, but I just feel like going with Keaton Wagler, filling that system a little bit more with Tyronn Lue would be a great selection there.
I think it really just depends on the health of Darius Garland. That's something that's been a big question mark, and seeing him in Cleveland, the him and Donovan mix. There were times where you can make it work well, and you'd have to obviously, it's a lot of teammate chemistry, work in progress with that, how that would to work. But if you're going off based off pure fit, Cody, I think your pick of Wag would probably be the better scenario there. It depends on what they think. Do they want to go pure score or do they want to go for more of a fit? That depends. Honestly, you could take one or the other. It just really depends on how they think in the organization.
Yeah, and if you ever want to, we're going to be covering the draft on all these episodes going forward. And also, I'm planning on doing a live draft show. I'll be free that night, draft night. I'm going to see if anyone else with the podcast or anyone else with U92 will also be free draft night. We can hop on, go live for the NBA draft. Just round 1, not round 2, as it's a 2-day event now. For some, I don't understand that still, but I think it was mainly for Bronny, but I think now they're just sticking with it. I mean, it makes it a little bit more, honestly, I don't really have an opinion no matter what, because on paper, it's really weird from like the viewership perspective because the NBA draft only ended at midnight majority of the time, Eastern Standard Time.
It wasn't terrible.
And it's not like it was very long at all, only 60 picks. But like from a front office perspective, it does make sense, like giving you an extra day to think and like make trades and stuff for the second round. I mean, I'm saying this like the NBA draft being like that's not the reason AJ Mitchell's on the Thunder right now. Giving Press the extra time to make a couple of trades and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna go live for the first round. I will at least. I'm gonna see if anyone else from the podcast will be as well. But it'll be very fun.
Sounds like a really fun time. I got to make sure my schedule's open. I love it.
Before we move on to the NBA playoffs that are going on right now, there was 2 NBA deaths in the same exact day. Jason Collins, who made groundbreaking, who broke the ground as the first openly gay player to play NBA basketball, died at 47 on Tuesday after a battle with brain cancer, stage 4 glioblastoma. Cancer's terrible. It's I know people say that brain cancer is just pretty much a death sentence, even at the current state of life. That even throughout all the advances we've made, it's very unfortunate that it's still like this. But it's just hopefully as we go along, more cures and the potential cure of this deadly disease will actually be found.
I hope so. It's double loss of life, especially in the same day, and it's more just unexpected. Just the courage that Jason Collins had to come out during a time where that, I mean, depending on your views on that, it's still a very powerful thing to do. Rest in peace, Jason Collins. Condolences to his family as well. It's just 2 difficult losses of life in the same day. The whole NBA family is mourning. Even if you're a fan, executive, anybody just watching the NBA, it's a terrible loss of life.
Yeah, great player at Stanford. Both him and his twin brother were incredible at Stanford. And great I think 12-year NBA career that he put together as a strong center, but only 47 years old, still playing. Like 10 years ago, he was still playing in the NBA. Which so two very young men just gone way too soon, 29 and 47, within 2 to 3 hours of each other as well. Now going forward, NBA playoffs, there's 2 series already finished in this on the Western and Eastern Conference semifinals. There's 2 sweeps. The Knicks swept the Philadelphia 76ers, which later resulted in the firing of Daryl Morey. In a very one-sided series. I mean, the Sixers managed to somehow come back down 3-1, use the last of Joel Embiid's lifespan, I guess, to just come back. Like, his legs were done after that. I love Embiid. It's very unfortunate that the injuries have just consumed him throughout the later half of his career, but missed the last 2.5 games of this Knicks series due to the injuries after willing it away through injury and injury against the Celtics the series before. And then the Thunder swept the Lakers. First 3 games were very one-sided in the second half. The last game was, quote-unquote, from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, basketball at its purest, most fun form. A 5-point win for the Thunder in that 4th game in L.A. That Chet Holmgren had a putback dunk with 32 seconds left to give the Thunder the lead. They wouldn't look back from in that one. But don't really have to talk about those 2 series enough, but I will hit on Daryl Morey's fired, and that kind of associates with the other series as well. Jared McCain had the highest 3-point percentage in a single series in NBA playoff history, 82% from 3 against the Lakers. And Daryl Morey was fired. Not sure if I'd say that was kind of the nail in the coffin in a way. Not really it's the end of the world. I mean, you got a first round and the second round pick for him, but you did say, "Oh yeah, we're selling high," and then he turned around and come off the bench and shot 82% from 3.
Yeah, I really think just from a Morey perspective, and if you're the 76ers organization, you're seeing somebody who should not have been traded from the 76ers. I think the Sixers could have arguably probably could have won him a game. You at least couldn't have got swept, but still for OKC and what he's doing for this Thunder team that's already overpowered as they are, you kind of just have to think at some point, and obviously with Embiid, well, I know Embiid said, I don't know if it was after game 4, was it after game 4? No, it was after game 2 maybe, saying like, oh, I haven't felt this healthy in forever. It might have been after the Boston series, around that range of saying my knee hasn't felt better. And then you just have this stuff happen again towards the end. He's not playing. I believe it was the final 2 games. You get swept. If you're the 76ers, you have to think at some point, when do you turn the page and try to go more towards the younger side? Which, if you look at their roster right now, they have a lot of good young pieces. It's not like they're all like an older team. I'm trying to think of the example really off the top of my head. I mean, you can maybe say if you had like 2 other players older as old as LeBron on the Lakers, that'd be like the most similar comparison I can think of immediately. But I really think if you're the 76ers, change had to happen somewhere. You have to light the fire under the organization. And then if that's how you got to do it, I mean, all props to Philadelphia.
Yeah, this Sixers core is very interesting right now. It's kind of like in the middle grounds between the it's like the I don't know, like the sunset of the process is like as how I like to call it. You have Tyrese Maxey and BJ Edgecombe, two very strong young players. Quentin Grimes is a solid guy off the bench, but that's really your only strong player off the bench. Andre Drummond's good every once in a while, but he's getting up there in age. Then you have Joel Embiid and Paul George, 2 guys getting up there in age. Paul George is a strong player, just a little bit. For what both of their contracts stayed as former superstars in the league, and Embiid's still a superstar whenever he is playing. It's just a little bit too much of a risk. Maybe you just go and just fully turn the page. I mean, like you're probably about like 3/4 of the way through the book of the process. It's like I'd say right now, if you just want to completely shut the book, who knows, cause commotion in the NBA. But I think. The Sixers could always run it back next year. This is a team that could, I mean, this entire season they were always a if they get healthy at the right time, look out team, and they got healthy at the right time and ended up coming back down 3-1 from the Celtics, but then got injured once again and got swept in the next round by a very, very strong Knicks team who definitely should not be overlooked. Maybe it's just the Knicks are that good. I mean, after they've only lost 2 games in the playoffs, and they've been a combined 2 points between the two of them. The only team that's even close was the Thunder's 8-0 start, which is something that's only happened like so many times in NBA history. But moving forward from the sweeps, you have 2 very strong, very good series. Tonight, both of them are playing. 7 p.m., Pistons Cavaliers in Cleveland. Cleveland has a chance to win in 6 games after stealing Game 5 away in the last game. Evan Mobley hit a 3-pointer to make it a 1-point game with like a minute left, and then they were able to tie it, send overtime. And the Cavs were able to just control it the rest of the way, pick up the win. And then on the Spurs-Timberwolves side of things, Timberwolves trying to extend the series one more. They fought well for a team that's like very injured still against a very strong Spurs team. But first, Pistons Cavaliers RJ, been a very fun series. James Harden, beard to beard, playoff time James Harden. The last 2 games, all of the playoff things have been going around about James Harden throughout the years. I mean, he was a very strong playoff player with the Rockets, except for like a couple of games which made this legacy happen. Has been exactly what the Cavs asked for.
Yeah, and I've really been saying this around my circles of people who watch Cavs basketball. I tell them, you do not get these wins if Darius Garland's still on your roster. And that's not a shot to him. It's necessarily more the fact of Harden's on the court, he's playing, and he's healthy, and he's scoring efficiently, and also his ability to pass the big man. I know we talked about that during our trade deadline special where we really went in depth on the trade, but you're just seeing the way of how Allen's, at least in my opinion, from a physicality perspective, he's gotten a lot better compared to the past two seasons, I'd say, but especially the past 2 games of this series. I mean, let alone, I mean, you're seeing him do these putback dunks. You got the fans chanting his name, then he dunks on somebody. He was not doing that a year or 2 ago. So the evolution of this Cavalier roster, and your at least especially in Game 5, your points off the bench. Max Strus, man. I don't know what it was ever since he came back, the injury that kind of took him off over half the year. He's been a different player. His defensive intensity on Cade Cunningham, besides where he gets those 2 to 3 quick fouls, I think back to back to back, that's kind of my main problem. I think that can be fixed. Other than that, the defensive intensity and I think the leadership from this Cavalier organization, I've been very impressed with. I think if the Cavs make the conference finals, potentially win this game, I think New York will probably make it out of the East right now if you were to ask me this current day, unless the rest gets to them too much. I don't think it will. New York all around I think is built better. But I really think for the Cavaliers, though, you're seeing improvement. You're not stalling out as bad as it was in the past couple of years. And I think for the front office, that's a big thing. Because in my opinion, Game 5, whoever won Game 5 is going to win the series. In my opinion, when you look at it, the 3-2 lead, if you're Cleveland's sake, if Detroit wins that Game 5, they're coming in with all this momentum, and you could potentially flat out at home, and you could arguably have the front office blow everything up. But Cleveland getting that win, if they potentially close this out, or at worst case scenario, if you are a Cleveland fan, you win in 7. You've been to the conference finals for the first time since 2018. I think the front office gives the team more grace if that were to happen, and probably stick with this core. Mitchell will stay. Harden will probably pick up his player option. You tend to stick around the same guys, maybe add another guy on the bench. But I think for Detroit, I mean, I know a lot of things. Cody, I'll ask you on this. Was it a foul at the end of Game 5?
I think it's one you just let slide. I mean, I understand, like, the frustration because, like, but we see these, like, loose ball sort of things happen at the end of games all the time, and they never call it. So it's like there's no point to blow the whistle there, especially in such a close game that's make it in that way, even though, like, there's contact, but it was 2 players going for the same ball.
And I know a lot of people are talking about, like, oh, it wasn't intentional or something like that, which, I mean, in the NBA, it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. If they feel like it's a foul, they're going to call it. They put out the 2-minute report saying it wasn't a foul. I believe that was yesterday, which I was like, you know what? All right, you let him play. I mean, but everybody else is talking about free throw discrepancy as well. I don't know if you've been hearing that as well. It's some might. I mean, I can understand the argument, but at the same time,
Pistons
if
are a
you,
very physical team, though,
that's the
so it's
thing,
like,
they foul more, and I think for Cleveland, that's in one case where not being as physical can help you in that regard because you're not fouling as much. I think it was one of the early. I think it was game 1 or 2 in Detroit where Allen got 3 fouls in like 6 minutes. Like if you have something like that happening, like yes, it's going to be a lot worse. But it really just depends. And even the Pistons fans going after Jalen Duren, which I mean, can you blame him, Cody? I
yeah.
don't.
I
I,
mean,
ugh.
Jalen Duren's been played off the floor for back-to-back series now. First by Wendell Carter, and then now Jared Allen's doing it, which Jared Allen's a guy that's Wendell Carter makes a little bit more sense because he's a guy that can shoot like jumpers. Jared Allen's just using like the thing that Duren's been doing the whole year, physicality,
Yep.
out physicaling them, which is something that if you're a player like Jalen Duren, you shouldn't be being out physicaled by the opposing center like he has been this series. It was very strange. 9 points, 3 of 5 shooting. Did not even pick up a block. Negative 16 in only 25 minutes is not good whatsoever. And whenever your matchup and Jared Allen has the best net rating of any player this series as well, like I think he's like plus 19.8 per 100 possessions or something like that. It's really not a good thing. But
There's a mix of
this
that.
game
And
tonight,
believe
really gonna be
it
fun.
was. I believe it was either before Game 5 or after Game 5, and something that shocked me when I looked at it is by shooting percentage or true shooting percentage, one of the two stats. Evan Mobley leads the entire playoffs right now, which I think is really interesting considering there's been a lot of people kind of claiming at his growth and saying he's not developing enough as a star player for a franchise. And I know there's a lot of Giannis trade rumors to Cleveland for some reason. I personally wouldn't do it because I think Evan Mobley's too good. He's going to be your future anchor there at the center position if you eventually move him if Allen's gone, or if you want to keep him at power forward. I still think, regardless, you got to keep Mobley on the team, and I think his development of a 3-point shot has been big for Cleveland.
Yeah, and this series has been very fun so far. 7 p.m. Prime Video will be Game 6 tonight. Moving forward at 9:30 p.m. on Prime Video, there'll be another great game. In Minnesota, a spot that's been very difficult for the Timberwolves to lose in throughout the past couple of seasons now. Timberwolves Spurs up 3-2. Minnesota needs to win 2 straight to secure a series win, but they could always just extend the series, send it to 7, and send it back to San Antonio with a win tonight. The Spurs are favored by 5.5 points. It's been a very fun series so far.
I just think, I mean, well, we do not condone gambling here at U92 The Moose, but I'm assuming where the public's looking is they feel like San Antonio is the better build-around team, and I'd agree with that sentiment. It's more just the fact of I want Minnesota to extend this series to 7 games. I've loved this series, the drama around it, the thing with the Victor Wembanyama, you could say the elbow to the neck, they could call it. There's a foul. He ends up getting out of the game. I think, in my opinion, if he stays in that full game, San Antonio probably ends this series already. But you still have that. If Anthony Edwards has been doing, I mean, being injured coming into the playoffs and being really hurt coming back ahead of schedule and then still performing at a great level, I think he deserves a lot of credit for Anthony Edwards. But I think really what it's going to be is going to be on Victor for the Spurs. Can he put up his same performance? Can he get those? I mean, what was it? He had the playoff record. It was, I forget how many games ago. It was like, what, 11, 12 blocks? He beat out Andrew Bynum, which I didn't even know had the record. I think which was wouldn't have been my first guess. But I think really for the Spurs is can you go off Wembanyama? And if you can't, can your bench and your other starters help you? I think that's, I mean, even Keldon Johnson, that's a name I'm looking at potentially for this matchup. Can he have a good game? That'll be my big question for the Spurs because if they can do that, I think they probably, I mean, like you saw, I believe it was game 2, just pure destruction. You could potentially see that even if it's on the road in Minnesota.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention about this series is in this Game 5, the game was tied in the third quarter. After it was a 17-point lead for the Spurs, the Timberwolves tie it up, and then the Spurs just run rampant the rest of the game. I think and then just immediately go back up 20 points and don't look back. But I think this series has really highlighted the issues with Chris Finch as a head coach because he's like, yes, he's made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row and has put 2 wins away from making it again for a third year in a row. But his offense has so many flaws in it that's really just rough to watch because he has such a talented roster to work with, and you would have expected them to make it to the finals by now with this roster just because you had that matchup against the Mavericks 2 years ago. You get gentlemen swept. Last year against the Thunder, after the Thunder were rolling out of a 7-game series against the Nuggets, and you had some rest behind you, gentlemen swept. And there's been some glaring issues with the offense, and I think especially in this series, there was a screenshot that was very hilarious where you had 5 Timberwolves players on one side of the court on offense, all 5 of them. You had Gobert on the left block, you had Randall on the left elbow, you had Edwards in the double team, and in the left corner you had Terrence Shannon Jr., and then right next to Edwards, who was getting double teamed, you have the guy whose man is currently double teaming Edwards running towards him, and that was Io.
I don't understand
It's incredible spacing. I gotta say,
wow, that's that
spacing. Like
spacing.
2K rec, 5 randoms together type spacing, where like you're all just running around each other because everyone wants the ball.
Yeah, you don't have the
and
chemistry.
Like, you're not actually running the offense.
You're just getting right next to the guy with the ball and just hope the game just automatically passes to you instead of the other guy. I mean,
call a timeout anytime he touches it.
Oh, shit. No. Yeah, there's a reason why I don't play 2K online anymore. That's probably why. And if I do, I stick to my team. But really, what it is for this Minnesota team, and I even go off that game 5. To me, Julius Randle did not have a good game in his 36 minutes played. I mean, he was shooting 6 for 17, didn't make a single 3. He was 0 for 4, minus 22. I mean, if you're looking for a guy, what are your starting forwards? You got to have better production than that. I mean, yes, you could say the 17 points, but, I mean, really, if you look about it, good amount of scoring. I mean, Anthony Edwards, you got Io hitting 16 points. Even, I mean, Jaden McDaniels I think he played better than Randall, but still, you need better shooting percentages. Randall was shooting 35%. McDaniels was shooting 46%, so at least his was higher. But still, you need all-around performances, and especially with Rudy Gobert having 4 points, you're not going to win. I'm sorry, but you're not. I mean, I know he's more known defensively, but you got to get some offensive efficiency out of him somehow if you want to win, if you're Minnesota.
Yeah, and especially when they won Game 4 just because of how strong Gobert was down the stretch. But one thing is, anything can happen in Minnesota. It feels like doesn't matter what goes on with the Timberwolves, anything can happen. Tonight at 9:30, we can see if the Spurs move on, go to their first Western Conference Finals in a long time, since 2017.
What he said?
Oh, yeah. Kawhi Leonard. The Zaza Pachulia leg out. I was just
talking about that with somebody the other day. Yeah, wow.
And the Timberwolves, could they win one, send it back to Game 7? Who knows? But that's it for this week's episode of The Flop Factor. We got some good time. 43 minutes.
Wow.
On there.
We had some fun today. Yeah. Great conversations.
Great topics to cover. Some great series, a great playoffs so far. The second round hasn't been as fun as the first round was, which makes sense. Yeah. The first round was untouchable. It felt so like at times you had 3 Game 7s, a 2-3-1 leads blown. The Knicks-Hawks series was fun until it wasn't. The Lakers-Rockets series was very interesting. The Nuggets-Timberwolves series was just surprising. And then that Blazers-Spurs series, even though it being a gentleman's sweep, had some drama in it. So we had 7 fun series in that one.
Was anybody shocked by Lakers-Rockets? Absolutely not. They do it every every postseason. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, I like. And by the way, I just want to mention, Flop Factor is a win away for both the Cavaliers and Spurs from having a perfect Final Four.
That'd be incredible. You submitted that, right?
Yeah.
You have to see where it is on the rank chart, or is it?
Yeah, the only series we got wrong was who did we pick between the Lakers and Rockets? I don't remember.
That might have been a split. It depends
Yeah,
on. I thought we would have picked the
I think we picked the
Lakers.
Lakers.
I would think.
Yeah,
I know.
like
At least
I
I
feel like
hope I
because
picked
me
the
and Belaz
Lakers.
both picked the Lakers, you picked the Lakers.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah,
So
it
those
was quite,
Lakers probably.
yeah,
We probably said Lakers in like 5 or 6. So we might have been
yeah,
close. I don't know. You're gonna
yeah.
have to look at that and let me know.
The only series two series we've gotten wrong were Celtics, Sixers, and Timberwolves, Nuggets so far.
I mean,
So
can you blame anybody for getting Celtics
yeah,
Sixers wrong? I mean, injury riddled. I mean, they were up 3-1. They had the shot to potentially make. I think I would have been curious to see this season of a Celtics Knicks series. Who would have made out of that alive? That probably
yeah,
would have won 7 games. Honestly,
yeah. That
so
would
in
have
my
been a really
opinion, I
fun
would have
series if
loved
the
to see that.
Celtics didn't get injured. So there was like Game 6 too. That whenever Tatum got injured, like again, like it was rough.
The what if scenarios is playoffs, and then of what if Orlando closed out, so you would have had
Yeah,
Orlando and Boston in the semifinal. I think that would you could have potentially still got the same matchup still, but I think could be a more fun way to get to that final conclusion.
yeah. But as always, you can check out Flop Factor on every single streaming platform: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Deezer, I believe.
Shout out.
And flopfactor.transistor.fm is our main home website. You can also follow us on the Flop Factor NBA. I think it's at Flop Factor NBA on Instagram. So, as always, thanks for listening all the way. This was episode playoff edition, playoff and lottery edition. I don't remember exactly what number. I think we're on 30 now of the Flop Factor. And it ends right now.
Episode.